Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Think Outside the Red Box, where we are here for you every Monday evening at 7:30. So glad to have you here. And as always, let me know that you're here if you're watching. Wave at us, throw us a heart, say hi. And as we talk through today, give us some feedback, ask some questions. We like audience participation. All right. So we're having a few technical difficulties. And so my co host, Dion Coates, will be joining us here shortly. But as I'm waiting for her to join, I just want to say hello to all of you out there. Thank you so much for always tuning in. Thank you so much for your support. We have been doing this since the end of July, and you all have been showing up and showing out for us, and we really appreciate that. All right, let me bring in Dion. Hey, Dion.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you
Welcome back.
doing? How
I'm
was your
good. Welcome
Thanksgiving?
back.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So, did you
Great. It
enjoy
was
your
nice.
holiday?
It was nice and quiet.
Nice and quiet.
I did. We
I
had a
think that
great
probably a lot
time.
of
It was
people have that
nice and
same
quiet.
testimony.
I loved it.
Well, I
I
went out of
loved it.
town.
Okay. I loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it.
I went out of town. I had a great time with my family. And yes, we kept it under 10 people, even though I went out of town. And so it was nice. We had a little small Thanksgiving gathering at my sister's. It was my sister and her husband, and of course me and my family and my god sister and her son and my niece and nephew. So it was all good. I had a great time. I hope you all out there enjoyed your Thanksgiving. Let us know if you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. Hey, Joy. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Joy. Happy belated Thanksgiving.
Yes. All right. So I hope you all had enjoyed your holidays. And now we are back here on Mondays, getting to the good stuff, having them
Yes,
conversations
ma'am.
that we don't want to have, digging deep into those things we don't want to dig in deep about. And so, think outside the red box. We are here to help people learn how to think forward, right? We are here to teach, inspire, motivate, encourage, push, and pull you into emotional healthiness, into your purpose, so you can live a life abundantly. All right. Dion, today's topic: divorce yourself. Divorce yourself. You want to start out, or you want me to just go for it? We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Before you just go for it, I just want to read what divorce means so that we can have an idea of what divorce means. It's an also known as a dissolution. It's a process of terminating. Usually we speak of divorce in terms of marriage, but I'm gonna leave marriage out because we're talking about divorcing the ways that we think. Your divorce usually entitles canceling or reorganizing of legal duties and responsibilities. Um, let's see, yeah, but I like the dissolution part. So when I thought about divorcing, we think about marriage and people divorcing in marriage and everything. But when you think about divorcing your thoughts or your emotions or the way that you think or something, or that you, let's say, some kind of something you made up in your mind that you're trying to divorce yourself from, or that you made to yourself that you're not going to do anymore, or way you're not going to act anymore and you wind up acting that way. Like when Larry came on a few weeks, when Anitra was trying to, or when Anitra came on, and she said because he had made that resolution to not love the way that he should because of hurts. Sometimes we got to go and divorce ourselves from some of those things that we set up shop in our heads and our minds. So just wanted to read that it's terminating something, and it might cost you something to divorce it, but you may need to divorce. But yeah, go right ahead, go for it.
Well, I'll say that I looked it up as well because I thought it probably would be very, very important to define divorce. Um, just so we can have a true definition, we're all in the same playing field, right? And so that's funny because I had to do the same thing because I had to ask myself, what does it mean? Well, I didn't have to ask myself, but in case my audience wanted to know, what does that mean to divorce yourself? And so, as you said, we think about divorce and all we usually think about in the sense of marriage. Divorce means to dissolve or terminate a union, particularly marriage. But I also saw the definition that it is separation between things which were or ought to be connected, right? But I'm here tonight to say and to let everyone know that you ought not be connected, right? This said you ought to be connected, but you ought not be connected to everything in your past because it's not serving your future, right? So the premise of divorce yourself came from the fact that we marry ideologies from our parents, our upbringing, our culture, our society, church, work, TV, you name it, right? We have picked up on stuff and made vows to ourselves of what we will never do or what we won't ever put up with or what we won't ever accept, blah, 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 right? So I have to ask to my people out there watching, how's it working for you? How's that working for you? Because it's probably not working for you the way you would like for it to work for you, right? Um, we have become so comfortable living within this fortress we've built around ourselves with the bunch of encryptions a person has to decipher to get in, and it becomes exhausting, right? It just becomes exhausting. So how is that working for you? How is refusing to compromise something in your marriage working for you? How is giving people a proper tongue thrashing where you are tearing them down before they can tear you down working for you? How is it that the vow you made to never let a man or a woman, because it's not about just women, but you never let a man or a woman tell you what to do? I'm grown. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. And is now causing you to be spiteful. How's that working for you? I got to ask these questions. How is not supporting your husband or your wife when they're down? How's that working for you? Okay. I happen to come across a post today from a gentleman named Howard Britt. And the post painted a very vivid picture of a good woman, deserving of love and respect, that morphs into someone not so great after failed relationship after failed relationship. And he says, and I want to quote this, I'm going to read it. There are a lot of traits and characteristics that were turned off: patience, empathy, nurturing, femininity, understanding, trust, respect, availability, belief, off, off, off. Through the years, through the months, Lauren, made up name, insert any name, had to conserve power. She had to protect herself, and she learned every time having that light on didn't help. So, meaning she learned that every time she was nice, she was giving, she was considerate, she was thoughtful, she was loving, etc., etc. Every time she gave her all, it didn't get her anywhere. And so the lights was turned off, right? Mentally, emotionally, lights were turned off. And so it's like she's secure now in this life she's built and formed herself into. I'm still reading his post. She's got to get her bag. handle her kids, keep her schedule, keep her routine. She survived because she had to, right? And so that's just one example. But things happen to us, that things happen to good people, but bad things happen to us, and we make these vows to ourselves. Sometimes we might do it unconsciously, I think, but we turn into someone that we are not. We turn into these cold hearted people, right? We build these walls where we don't want to let people in. We have made these vows that certain things will trigger us. Like I mentioned, ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. So if you feel like growing up that you were controlled all the time, everything that you did, they were always trying to control you, then you might adopt an attitude or make a vow to yourself that when I get older, ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. I'm a grown a woman, or I'm a grown a man. I'm gonna do what I want to do when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. And then we get in a situation and we're so determined to stick to that vow, and we are so determined to be right. Our pride will not let us let it go, so that we could compromise and make something work for us. Your thoughts, Dion?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that being a cause and effect, because a lot of times we don't realize that there are behavioral and psychological things that go on when we decide to make a vow. We don't know how it's going to affect that other person, be it a friend, be it a marriage, your family member, what have you, when you make vows, because sometimes we make unrealistic vows, and then it causes our behavior to change. It causes us to be emotional. It causes a psychological effect, and keeps us in a whirlwind of emotions, never ever reaching full potential because we're so busy trying to hold to a vow that doesn't even make sense, and we don't even know. So half the time, we don't even know why we made the vow. We forgot. It was so many years ago. We forgot why we made that vow, and we still trying to live it out, and it's not working. It's just causing us to fail and plummet to things that we shouldn't, you know, partake in. But we stick to that vow no matter what, whether it serves us well or it is a disservice to us. So we need to change our way of thinking, and we need to be intentional about undoing and even unmasking it, because we've made it look so nice and so pretty that we need to unmask it now and make it look ugly to us so that we can stop living it out. Because like you said, it's not serving us, it's doing us an injustice. And to divorce it means that maybe we might be getting rid of a part of us, but it's okay, because that's a part of you that you probably don't need to be holding on to. So just some food for thought. I mean, you don't have to, but for like you said, is it serving you? Has it helped in your marriage? Has it helped in your girlfriend relationship or your guy friend relationship? Has it helped on your job? Has it served you well on your job? Has it served you well in your career and your education? Has it served you well with your children? So, um, yeah, we just need to be intentional about forgetting some of those vows that we made. And maybe some of those vows we need to ask God to help us, because they were ungodly vows anyway. So, we just don't know whatever type of vow it is that you made that you shouldn't have made, or if it was something spiritual and you need to renounce it or denounce it, or whatever you need to do, maybe you need to do that as well. So but yeah, we just need to be careful, because they cause our behaviors to change and us not to be ourselves. And when we look in the mirror, we don't even recognize the person that we see, because we bent on keeping to that vow. We got to have it.
Right, right. I have to agree with that. So, while you were talking, I was, of course, thinking like, what vows did I make to myself? Because I'm pretty sure I probably did that. Over time, um, I probably needed to let go with, especially after getting married, right? Because when you're single and you make these vows and then they're not serving you in your marriage, and if you want this marriage to work, you've got to, as Anitra said a couple weeks ago, die to yourself. You got to die daily. And that means we got to divorce, we got to let go, we got to dissolve, we got to disconnect from some of these things that have happened in our past, that has nothing to do with where you are right now. And so I think of, you know, the fact that before you get married, when you're a woman such as myself, who was a single mother, you know, as he described, out there trying to make, secure the bag, out there taking care of the children, out there trying to make things happen no matter what, we tend to get in this mode and get this attitude that, you know, I'm not going to depend on nobody. I can't depend on nobody. I got to do what I got to do. Right. And then you get married and you trying to still be like, I got to do what I got to do, this, that, and the third. But now you got another person that you've got to make decisions with. And then we don't want to stop long enough to have a conversation to make decisions with them, because we're so determined that I got to do what I got to do, and I know how to make these decisions, and I know how to make things happen, and so I'm just going to do what I got to do. But then it causes discord in your marriage, because now you're making moves, money moves, whatever moves, that without your spouse, with no thought or no consideration without them, because you're so determined in your mind, or I would say in my mind, because this is something I had to work on, that I don't need anybody to make it work. I don't need anybody to make this happen. And I'm so used to doing it on my own. Unconsciously, I'm making decisions that I should be stopping and saying, you know, let's sit down and talk about how we're going to do this, how we're going to run this, how this is going to happen, how much money we need to spend, this, that, and the third, right? And so we have to think about some things that are not serving us in our relationships, attitudes and behaviors that are not serving us on our jobs, and ask ourselves, what vow did we make? What vow did you make to yourself a long time ago that's telling you, you're not going to take this from, I'm not going to take this from you. You're not going to talk to me this way. This, you're not going to this, and you're not going to that, and I'm not going to allow this, and I'm not going to allow that. Like, sometimes the way we were raised, some of the things that we were taught, maybe that doesn't work for your relationship, right? I, I'm kind of glad for myself that I didn't listen to some of the things that I heard growing up. You know, not to say for any of you out there what I'm about to say, if this is you and that's what you want to do, this is what you like to do, that's what works for you. But for me, of course, the advice to a woman was always put something aside, hide some money, you know, always have some money for a rainy day or whatever, whatever. And I decided that I just was not going to adopt that mentality, adopt that attitude, that I wanted to walk into my marriage, um, being very transparent, being very open as to where I am, what I have, and putting all my cards on the table. Because if I'm going to get married, why am I not putting all my cards on the table? I'm not trying to hide money. I'm not trying to go shopping and have to put my stuff in trunks. That's what I grew up seeing. They go shopping and we've got to put our stuff, we got to sneak clothes and shoes into the house. I didn't want to live like that, right? So my thing was to have an open communication with my husband about money and how we're going to budget and how we're going to spend money. And I'm bringing everything to the table. You need to bring everything to the table, and we're going to do this thing together, because I just didn't want to start out lying. I didn't want to start this marriage out with not trusting, right? So that was kind of one of those things I learned. And I'm not going to say that I never think about it in past relationships, but I decided that when I got married, I just was going to do something different, because evidently what they were doing wasn't working. so, so then I'm going to just do something different, and my approach was to just be open, honest, and transparent. So you all out there watching, tell me, talk to us. What vows did you make that you, if you're married, that you felt like that you knew that you needed to give up and you had to give up because it just wasn't serving you in your marriage? And if you're single, maybe you have a vow now that you recognize that you probably need to work on this part of you, of who you are, before you do get married. Talk to us.
So, Angelina, I was reading the census for 2019, and it said that it reported 75% individuals indicated that their marriages ended, and because the person wasn't being upfront and honest. And a lot of it
That's
was money
interesting.
issues. Yeah, a lot of it was money issues. They said one of the spouses was taking money and hiding it while the other spouse was bringing everything to the table. One of the biggest things that they said, and they felt like they couldn't trust their spouse, to be honest, and because they weren't being honest about the money situation. So a lot of them wound up divorcing because they felt like, well, you're me, so I'm bringing everything and you're hiding everything that you get, or you're saving it somewhere else. What are you saving it for?
Right.
And one of the other things that I wanted to just bring out, and maybe some of you all that's single, or maybe even some of you all that's married, just because of the vows that you made, has it hindered you from operating properly in ministry, or even having a proper relationship with God? So, those are some of the things we have to ask the question, um, and see where it takes us, and not be afraid to look in the mirror and get the answer, because it probably astound you to know that you're probably stifled from doing what it is that God wants you to do because of a vow that you made, and you just can't get over the fact that God is calling you to something that you said that you would never do. So
Yeah,
that's what I
that's
think you say.
interesting.
Hmm.
You made me say, because, you know, I was talking marriage and relationships, but sometimes I didn't think about the fact that, we make these vows that show up and don't serve us in ministry, right? Because these same attitudes that we have in any other relationship now is going to impact how we serve and how we minister to other people. And we've got to divorce those, again, those ideologies, those thought patterns, and those kind of perspectives that are not serving us in our purpose. And it's not serving us in being able to minister to other people. It's not serving us in being able to help other people, right? And so we've got to begin to check ourselves and divorce ourselves from those things that are not of God. Let's just talk about that. Those things that are not of God, these attitudes, these self sabotaging behaviors, right? These negative behaviors that we display, this cold heartedness, right? This lack of emotion, this it being inconsiderate, our selfish and self-centered ways, our self-serving ways. All of these things are not things of God, right? And so we've got to take on the things of God, and our attitudes and our beings and our characteristics of what God is, right? And if it ain't like God, then you need to divorce that thing. We got a comment that says the benefit of being a believer is sometimes you don't realize you made the vow until the Holy Spirit shows it to you. You never need it. You never knew it was a vow. That is so true, Katana, because sometimes we, as I think Dion might have said it earlier, but we say these things to ourselves and we don't even know where they come from. It's just an attitude or a persona that we've adopted, again, from watching our parents, our upbringing, our culture, our society, the schools we went to, the state we lived in, where we worked at, the people we hung around, or even sometimes your church family, right? We pick up on certain characteristics and certain personas of what we see, and we think that that's the way we're supposed to be because that's what we've always seen. We don't even know. Sometimes we don't even know that how we're showing up is not good. Um, and because we're so emotionally unhealthy, sometimes when people try to tell us, about ourselves, we don't really want to hear it, right? No one wants to hear that there's something wrong with them. No one wants to be told that they need to work on themselves. But we do have to get to a point where we realize what areas of our lives that do we need healing. We don't need healing everywhere. It's not like we're all broken up. There just may be some certain areas or some certain things that we need to work on, and we need to let go of those characteristics of our personality that we have adopted that were never supposed to be there. God just did not create you that way, but life happened, and life has taken over, and life has created an all new different identity within you. And we've got to be able to shed those things, right? And become the person that God created us to be.
And sometimes these vows that we make from mama names, day names, because they're vows that their mother made and their mother before them made, they're generational things and vows that they passed on from generation to generation. We don't even know why we've adopted some of these things. They just seem like they were okay, and because mama did it. That don't necessarily mean it was right. It could have been a vow that she made unknowingly or a vow that she made knowingly, and now she's living it out and she's translated it to you, and then you translate it to your kids, and then it becomes an iniquitous trait that we carry on, and then we need to be healed from it because it just serves us in our future and where we're going. So sometimes it's not always good to just say, I just did this because my mama did it or because my daddy did it. Find out why they did it or what was the reasoning behind it. And sometimes we don't want to know because maybe we think it might be a good thing or a good trait. My mother used to yell all the time, and I picked up yelling. I'm like, where the heck that came from? And why is yelling the norm? And then you carry it into your relationship and you yell at your kids, and it's like, oh my god, I must sound like a hackle in here and yelling at these kids. It's crazy, but we do things out of habit, and we wind up missing God and not realizing that your mom yelled at you because her mom yelled at her because maybe her mom didn't like her or hated her or whatever. That wasn't the case, but I'm just saying we just don't know, and we carry it and carry it and carry it to the next generation and a generation after that. So we really have to be careful and be mindful of where God is, what God is trying to do, and where He's trying to show up and where He's trying to deliver us. That's why it's so important for us to unbecome the things that we are in the ways that we are, so that we can become what it is that God wants us to be. And it's a task because it requires some intentionality. And like most of us, we like what we produce sometimes, and sometimes it's not always good.
Wow, yeah, we do. Dysfunction. So I want to go back because we're at the top of the hour. So I want to go back to that post that I was talking about and just read these again. I'm probably going to add a few of my own, but you know, we come into this world. God has a plan for us. He made us in His likeness and His image. And somehow between being born and where you are now, your identity got corrupted, right? Your identity and who you were designed to be and how you were designed to be and how you were to show up and how you were to speak and talk and act and all those things got corrupted. And so we have to go back and look at Jesus. Dion, my favorite is it. My favorite answer to everybody is go read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John because they're the same thing except for written. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John will tell you how you're supposed. It will show you. I want. You will read and you will see how you're supposed to be showing up, and you will see how you're supposed to respond and the type of person that you're supposed to be. So, going back to this post, patience, empathy, nurturing, understanding, trusting, respectful, available, believing, right? I can add some things to this: mercy, compassionate, considerate, thoughtful, caring, loving, right? These are all the things that describe Jesus and so much more, right? And so if you are not, if you can't see that in your identity, then you've got some work to do. You've got some healing to do. If you can't hardly ever show people mercy as to where they are, and show them empathy and understanding as to where they are, or give them the respect even if you don't agree, like, we got some work to do. We've got to divorce these things that don't serve us in life. It doesn't serve us in relationships, and it doesn't serve us at work, on the job, or in our purpose, or at church, or wherever you may be. So think on those things. Think on those things. Think of who is God? Who is God really? At the end of the day, who is he? Because then we'll know who we are. And we should know, and then we'll know how we should be. And then we've got to get to a place where no matter what somebody says to us, no matter what somebody does to us, it doesn't change the core of who we are. Because that person can be nasty all day long, but if you're patient, you're patient, you're patient. Now, it doesn't mean people can't wear on your patience, but for the most part, you are a patient person, and you're an understanding person, and you're a considerate person, and you're going to be that whether you're at home, whether you're at church, or whether you're at work. So we need to start examining ourselves and determining what parts of us we need to divorce. What parts of us do we need to let go of? Because you don't have to be that way. You don't have to stay that way. You have an opportunity to say, I want better, I want to do better, I want to show up better, because I want my relationships to be better, I want my marriage to be better, I want my job to be better, I just want, when I go to church, I just want to feel better, I just want better. And it's okay to say you want better. And it's okay to say that you don't want to stay where you are because you know where you are is not serving you. Do you want to be whatever? Do you want to be right? I was going to say married, but this is more than marriage. This is more than marriage, people. We're so caught up in wanting to be right, and our way is right, and who we are is right, and what we do is right, and how we think is right. And we don't want to see no other way. And we've got to let go of these things. We've got to let go of these things because they're not serving us. Okay? It's keeping us stuck where we are. And we've got to get unstuck. We got to get unstuck from where we are so that we can move in the being that God has given us. So we can move and grow in this being and go to the next level, and stop surviving but start thriving. That's where we need to get to. Stop surviving, we need to get to thriving. Unbothered is unthriving. Unbothered is thriving. All right. That was my
Well,
unbothered crusade for the night.
well, let me share this before, because we are at the top of the hour. And for 2020, during this pandemic, we actually, the divorce rate has lowered during this pandemic. It was at 75%. Now it's at 50%, according to the census, because people are spending more time together and they're talking more because they have to, because the pandemic has kept us all in the house. So married people are not talking to each other and trying to deal with each other and trying to get healed. I'm happy to hear that that rate is decreasing, because that means that maybe some of us are letting go, or letting some of those vows that we made, Well, I'm not never cooking for him no more. I'm not never washing his clothes or whatever. Now that we stuck in the house, we find ourselves cooking and washing clothes and doing some of those things that we vowed that we wouldn't because we didn't want to be a doormat or what have you. We're starting to do those things, and they're starting to see that those things work in their household with just a little effort to do to change some things. So when you break some of those vows, they'll serve you a lot better. And people finding out in marriages now that they can live with Johnny because Johnny not so bad after all. All he wanted was a meal every now and then. And I'm not, picking on anybody. I'm just saying, according to the census, it says that, people are being more conscious. And now Johnny, is asking you, well, honey, can I cook? Or show me how to do the laundry or show me how to mop or what have you. So everybody is having to pitch in. So even though this pandemic seems to be a disservice, it may have served us well in the relationship department and causing the divorce rate to lower. So maybe we should divorce some idealistic or ideologies that we've adapted and start rethinking about some things, and we might find that we get that job that we've been so desiring, or that our boss recognize us a little better because we change our attitude about some things, or our friends like us a little better because we're not so bent on having it my way instead of asking what can we do, because sometimes we decide in relationships because of bad relationships, well, it's going to be the way I want it to be or no way, and we wind up running people off. So maybe we're considering some things differently during this pandemic that we thought served us well that doesn't serve us well now. And I keep on thinking about the thing you said one time, Angelina, who dropped you? Because a lot of times when people drop you, it's when you decide you're gonna make one of those crazy vows that don't serve anybody well. So who dropped you? If
Right.
they
I got
dropped
that
you,
from
pick a
Apostle
silly
Benny. I didn't make that up, but I stole it because I like it. But I had a thought, and I know we got to go. I always say this, but I had another thought though when you're talking, Dion, and that was positioning ourselves. We have to learn how to position ourselves for the things that we want, right? And that would include evaluating who we are and how we're showing up, and getting rid of those things that are not going to position us for the opportunities we're looking for, you know. And I'm going to go back to marriage because we want to be found, quote unquote found. We want to be chosen. We want to be proposed to, right? We want a husband, but are you positioning yourself to be found? You know, you come across people, and you may be like, I don't like this, I don't like this, but at the same time they're looking at you like, I don't like this about her, I don't like this about her, I don't like this attitude, I don't like the way she talked to me, I don't like the way she talked to my mom, she don't ever want to go anywhere with me. And so now who you are is not aligning with who they are, and then the next thing you know, he's gone, he's ghosted, he's MIA, he stops taking your calls, and you're sitting here and you're wondering why. What did I do? What happened here? And you got to stop and evaluate and ask yourself, how was you showing up in that relationship? How were you speaking? How were you, were you nurturing? Were you patient? Were you kind? Like, how are you showing up? And you got to learn how to position yourself, and positioning yourself for marriage, for a job, for ministry, for whatever it is that you're trying to do. It's going to require you to make some changes within you, right? To position yourself, because you're not going to get too far in life with this fortress you've built around yourself and the nasty attitude. And you're not going to get too far in life if you're every minute someone say the wrong thing to you and you're wanting to cuss them out, right? I think about um, with this e-learning, this distance learning, and there was some issues with one of my children in their schooling. And I was a little upset that my child wasn't doing well, and no one reached out to me. We had 7 teachers, only one teacher would had reached out to me. And so then when I go check in the work, I'm realizing she's not turning in her stuff. And so I could have just been rude and nasty, right? I could have just went off on them and cussed them out and said this, that, and the third. But that wasn't going to serve me. And that wasn't going to position me to get them to work with me and put a plan together on how we're going to get her on track and keep her on track so that we can get these grades up and we can finish this quarter successfully, right? Because if I had went with them with a really nasty attitude and going off and cussing them out, they would have been less reluctant to even want to respond to me, work with me, talk to me, right? Like, forget it. So we've got to learn. We've got to learn to position ourselves so that we're ready to receive the things that we want. What you want, what you're seeking, you need to make some changes within yourself to do that. All right, I'm off my soapbox. I'm done.
Well, like I always say, if you don't like who you are, remember, you teach who you are. Okay. And it's very important that we are mentally focused and challenged so that we can teach something great to the people around us. So if you need some therapy, if you need to go and get therapy, go get the therapy that you need. Stop being afraid to get the therapy that you need. If you need to come to one of our classes so that we can help you get emotionally healed, please give us a call so that we can put you on the list so that we can get you that emotional help that you need. But don't be afraid to face who you are and change who you are. It's okay, because when I realized that some of the things that I was holding on to didn't service me well, I had to ask myself that question and take a good look at myself and sit in it and realize that God was expecting me to show up different than the way that I was showing up. And I had built some walls that he was trying to tear down. And I guarantee you, if you let him tear them down, and if you tear them down, he'll build them right back up. He won't leave you out there naked. Okay, but
Mhm.
sometimes we have to get naked in order for him not to leave us naked. Okay. But yeah, if you don't like what you're giving off, you don't like what you're teaching, you got the power to change it. Let's change it. Let's change some of those emotional habits that we have, and do something different for 2021. This pandemic has caused some of us to be in an emotional rut. Some of us have taken a few steps backwards because we don't know what to do, and we feel like we all alone and we miserable, and God is trying to give you something, but because you're so stuck and thinking that it's all about you when it's so much bigger than just you. So allow him to do something different for you in 2021. You still have a month left in 2020, so it's still time for God to do something great and show up great in you. Let him do it.
All right. I had some more thoughts, but I'm going to save them. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to prolong this. I do thank everyone for joining us. I hope you did get something out of this. Please know God has a plan for your life. All right. And we need to clean some things up so that we can get the things that God has promised us and we can get to where He's trying to take us. You know, I've been reading about Israel's journey, and there was some folks who didn't get to the Canaan land. They didn't get to the promised land because they didn't believe, they acted up, they murmured and they complained, and they didn't want to move, and they didn't want to change their mind, and they wanted to stay stuck in their ways. Let that not be you. Like, let that not be you. All right. Get yourself together. Recognize those things that are within you that should not be there. Get some help with that. Recognize those things of how you're showing up that is not like God, and work on those things. And as Dion said, see a therapist, or you can come to one of our emotional healing classes. All right. So if you're interested in coming to emotional healing class that we're going to be having, then please do direct message me. Let me know. I can put you on the list so that when it's time for registration, and then you can sign up for that class. Now, I do want to say before we get out of here, we have our singles chat reloaded on Saturday where we're talking about forever relationships part 2. You know, we had that back in June and we didn't get to talk about everything we wanted to talk about. So we want to get some closure to some things that were said and, you know, some questions that folks had. So please join us on Saturday, December 5th at noon Eastern, Singles Chat Reloaded. Now, it says Singles Chat Reloaded, but please know this is for all relationships. You know, whether you're single, you're dating, engaged, you're married, divorced, widow, whatever your status may be. I still think that some of the things that we're talking about as singles, us married folks can learn from some of this stuff because we can do some course correction in our life. Okay. It's not too late to turn it around. It's not too late to save your marriage. It's not too late to make things right. It's just not too late. And it all starts with you divorcing yourself. All right. Anything else, Dion, before I let them go?
I think we said it all. I mean, peace. Get you some peace, find you some peace, do what you need to have peace. Take a good look at the man in the mirror and change some things so that you can find peace
Yep.
and
Peace
allow God to do a
starts
work
with
in you.
you.
But other than that, yep, it starts with you. That's the bottom line.
Bottom line. All right.
Happy
Be
Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving. That's over
Un-
with.
I know,
Happy.
but we didn't say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Okay. Happy holidays. How about that?
Yes, hopefully that everybody is still being thankful, and so that's why I say happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully we're still being thankful and
Yes.
not just on
Still be
Thanksgiving
thankful.
Day.
All
Yes.
right. We're going to let y'all go. Be unbothered. See you next time.
Peace.